What's going on, everyone? Vampyr Gaming here, and of course the new structure decks have been released for OP11, which is like, quote quote the shake up in our format versus what we saw in Asia. So it leaves a lot of room for something new and for some experimentation and discovery. However, it comes down to, do players want to overall discover and have fun, or are we just going to play the same format, and are we just going to play blue purple Luffy and green purple Luffy and just have our Luffy meta? And I don't think that's entirely incorrect. So first things first, just to kind of kick things off, just to kind of set the mood here, I'm gonna put blue purple Luffy still at tier 0. And the main reason for that is this is essentially, and where I think a lot of people kind of misunderstand, is that this is just Whitebeard. It's just Whitebeard that doesn't go to 0 and can heal. Because once you hit your, quote, late game, you just draw 2 every single turn. And if you take a life, you're drawing 3. And so, huge resource opportunity, plus just giant bodies, and just overall a lot of flexible play. You have both blue and purple cards, which enable you, which essentially both blue and purple have been dominant decks in recent formats and have continued to get some incredibly strong support. And you have Gum Gum Giant. So Gum Gum Giant's a pretty big card. People love Gum Gum Giant. I think a lot more people are going to be playing to beat this, which I think, of course, quote, weakens them. But, if a deck has to be built, if you have to build your deck to beat a deck, it already signals that there's a problem. And so for that reason, I do think, I said the same thing, green, purple, it's going to win events. And it is going to be the #1 event winner, is my thoughts. My thoughts is that it's going to be the #1 event winner in total events. We're going to see it, the majority of it, in the top. I would love to see something different. I would. I am playing this deck, so I've been playing with it, playing with a couple other things. Orlando is this weekend, and so really wanted to get this out there and share my thoughts, especially because we have a new format, and I did want to wait until I got an opportunity to kind of play some of these decks and really get a feel for what they can do. There's a lot of structure deck content coming here to the channel, so if that interests you, be sure to hit that subscribe button. It helps me out a lot. Just doing me that favor, clicking that really goes a long way. So it means the world to me. I appreciate it. But yeah, so blue-purple Luffy has just a huge toolbox of blue and purple. Even Bello Betty, optimized to beat blue-purple. Blue-purple can still win a good amount of those games. It's not even a great advantage overall. And then things like Zoro and whatnot, and you got the adaptation of God Thread, you've got Gravity Blade, you have, It's Delicious, or what is it, It's to Die For, all these different ways to play Luffy. I just think, I think this deck is still just going to reign supreme. I think perhaps not as much, because we do love a Lucci, and I think we could potentially see Lucci and things like that, but I think, I think that this leader right here is really just going to, he shapes how we build our decks, which I think is the basis for tier 0. I'm sure that there's an actual mathematic percentage, but if you have to build your deck to beat a certain deck and to make it in the meta, that deck is tier 0. My thoughts. Now we're looking at Odin, okay? Odin I actually think is 1.5. I believe Odin won a CS in Asia during OP11, but also you get the addition of the new Yamato, which is actually incredibly powerful, and you're a 4-life 6k leader, essentially. So it's 6k leader versus 6k leader. You have to play 9-beard, which makes you an 8k leader. And I think that's a completely underrated and underappreciated, and people aren't playing, quote, as much removal. We're playing 5-cost and 6-cost removal with Lin and God Thread, and Gerpel not playing any. So I think Odin is in a decent spot because that's 6k, making him a little bit stronger, and he's a 6k 4-life. And then you have the Wano cards and his ability to play bricks and bricks, you know, and he has vanillas with the 5/7. People drastically underestimate and underappreciate how strong a 5/7 body is. Because people haven't played vanillas in a long time. But like a 5/7 vanilla stat is insane. You get that with Izo, so I think this leader is incredibly good. We also, of course, have like bold and brash. You know, it belongs in the trash. And I think Hannibal kind of goes there. No offense to my Hannibal people. Hannibal has so much potential. This leader has so much potential. Like, he's blue-purple. He's blurple. He's blurple. But he just doesn't have the cards. And I think it's because they printed Lil Sadie the way that they did, that it kind of ruins the way that they have to approach this deck. And so maybe after rotation we could see something. Lil Sadie was a set 2 card, but lets you play any Jailer Beast, I believe. Just any Jailer Beast. Kind of like Buggy's effect. So if it was a 10 cost, you could play a 10 cost. So they can't have any boss monsters that would fall under here. And I think that's why. Like, outside, like, you know, Jailer Beast, but you have Magellan. Magellan isn't a Jailer Beast, but, like, yeah. So, like, yeah. Or even, like, a 5/7 vanilla. I think they might have one, but I don't think they do. But anything like that could just be huge. Kyros, I really think I've meant to build this leader in EBO2. I meant to. I think this leader is incredibly underrated. I think because it's like a better Luch. So Lucci's biggest challenge isn't the minus, it's the removal. So like this is like reverse Lucci. You get the KO something for free. Whereas Lucci gets the minus something for free. And so you can play a ton of minus cards, Kuzan, Laboon, Uta, and then use Kyros to KO. And you don't have to use an extra card or to do a KO and facilitate that. And I think it opens up a lot of opportunity. I think this leader is incredibly underrated. And I would, you know, like my time is so limited because the time I spend grinding and creating content and then just like learning matchups and then being able to provide value, that like I just wish I had more time with this leader. I played it for a brief moment, like right when he came out, and I saw the vision, but there people were playing Gecko Moria with Gecko out of the picture. I think this leader fills a giant gap there. Maybe I'm wrong, but I could be right. Could have been right. You know, I feel like the biggest thing, like, if you put in the time, I think almost any deck that has good cards has potential. Kind of like Yu-Gi-Oh! A lot of people in Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, they have staples. And if you just put in good cards, you could get good results overall. Because the cards are just that good. Green-Purple Luffy, I'm going to put it tier 1. Green-Purple Luffy, Gurple Luffy, everybody is playing around him. But I think they're all going to switch focus to this, which will create a great opportunity for the Green-Purple. And I think he overall, Blackbeard has a decent matchup into blue-purple, and green-purple excels versus Blackbeard. So I think that's going to create a unique opportunity there. Same thing here, Zoro. I think Zoro's like kind of here, but Zoro is supposed to have, and Zoro just won the CS for OP12. Zoro just won the CS for OP12. You know, when you go to the zoo, you really get results. But being able to swing a bunch of 6s and a lot is the big thing. So, like, you know, you draw 2, but when you have a bunch of bodies turning sideways and you're only establishing, you know, granted 2 big threats, and then on the way up, you're really not doing anything and not, like, removing anything super valuable. All your bodies are replacing yourself. You're going bar for bar the value. I think Zoro just has a unique opportunity here. Zoro just overall, I think, is incredibly powerful. Just, again, you know, when you attach 1 Dawn, you can get up to 5 for free, depending on how many bodies you have on board. And then, of course, you play your Zoro Swing 6, save it, use Zoro Swing again. You know, Rush Zoro is just one of the greatest cards ever made in combination with the Zoro. So, Green-Purple Luffy, or Red-Green Luffy, I'm going to put this at tier 2. I lost to a Green-Purple, or Green-Yellow, or, oh God, there's so many colors. To a Red-Green Luffy. I think, you know, you play the animal build, you get the restand. I think it's relevant. Odin. I'll go tier 3 on Odin. I'm going to go 1.5 on Red-Green Law. I think Red-Green Law is really strong overall. I think, you know, we get that new Searcher too, which can be relevant in this as well from the Bonnie structure deck. I think, like, you know, if you dodge Lucci, this deck, we always used to say that this was like an OP5 deck and OP2. Like, it's like an OP7 deck, things like that. Like, this leader was designed for way later in the game because he was just so incredibly powerful. The way being able to cheat extra Dawn, kind of like how you do with other decks now. And so I think he still holds up. Dofi, Wimmy doesn't like Chikorita, so he's bold and brash. Blurple Kaido. You know, I really want this leader to be so good. I'm going to put bold and brash. Blurple Kaido has such great colors, and you have Oniganshima, but there isn't anything on the blue side of this leader. There is just purple cards, and so it's like you might as well just play the purple Kaido. Blurple Croc, I'll go tier 3. I almost lost to this deck once because I was bricked up to infinity, but I think he's okay. King, bold and brash. He's reverse Zoro. It's funny, this tier 1, this is bold and brash, and he's literally just reverse Zoro. And it's crazy how the difference in that is. Whitebeard, I'm going to put Whitebeard and might surprise you. JCM is the GOAT. You know, you have 6-6. They aren't playing Pudding, or if they are playing 1. But, of course, you can see your top 5. So you can pretty much every turn look 5 for Pudding if that's what you really desire. And I think he's just like, he's possibly the best 6K leader out there. JCM got second and continued to show up with him throughout OP11. So I have no doubts that we could see him showing up, a lot more people getting bold with him as well, and Senzu getting 9th. So like Whitebeard is playable. Garp, you know what? I'll put Garp tier 3. It hurts me because there's no synergy, and essentially Garp's biggest pro is his built-in minus mechanic. And because of that, he has the best minus mechanic in the game. Because you don't have to spend cards to minus. You just have to spend Dawn. And then you can just use a KO. But, like, no, there's no synergy. If he was blue-black, I think he'd be, like, the best leader ever. Outside of Sakazuki. Because Sakazuki nasty. But, yeah, I think a lot of opportunity there. And, like, if there's just no synergy as it is. And we got the new Kobe. We did get the new Kobe. Not the Kobe. Well, we did get new Kobe, but we also got the Garp. So, maybe. Like, yeah, I think he's, like, tier 3. Sanji. Number 7? Nope. Ivankov. Top 8 Minhudi. No. I'll put Ivankov here. I think Ivankov has gotten support, but then like all the good revolutionary cards end up being red. So TBD if like Sabo and OP13 is going to be like red blue or like yellow blue to really just branch into the blue to give some support to Ivankov. But Ivankov is such a unique leader that's really hard for any other way. Because like when Ivankov was made, Ivankov was meant to pitch your whole hand and then continue on. And so I think it's very hard to create support for any other Revolutionary Army leader that would fit in Ivankov, because Ivankov wants no hand, and then essentially you can draw 4, and you get 4 new cards every turn. Or just perma 4 hand. Magellan. He's going to the bathroom. Z, I'll give Z tier 3. I think Z, again, has, like, it's minus, Dawn minus, and you can KO. And I think minus Zephyr, I think has minus. I don't think it's too bad. I'm going to go with Uncle Smokey at 1.5 / like more in the off-meta type vibe. Because Smokey I don't think is bad at all. I think Smokey has opportunity. And the fact, like, you know, you have Tashigi. Tashigi is just the best black card possibly ever printed. It trashes, plus it gets rid of a 5 for 5, essentially 5 for 6. So I'm a big fan of Tashigi. I think Smoker. I think Lucci's better. I think Smoker is just a little bit better. Smoker's a little bit worse. Ace. I'll give Ace tier 2. I don't think Ace is capable of beating Blue Purple Luffy. Maybe if they're bricked up, but I do think Ace has a good Green Purple matchup. Decent Zoro matchup, decent Shanks matchup. Emphasis on decent on Shanks. Kuro, the man of 10,000 plans. I plan on putting him in bold and brash. Arlong, I hear Arlong did pretty good at one of the events in Germany, like conventions, treasure cups. The finals was Arlong, is what I heard. Arlong continually gets better just because any yellow trigger card made is Arlong support. And I think, again, like, you know, they make some really good cards and it creates like buff. And then you, of course, have, what's his name, Vanderdecken. Vanderdecken is a heck of a card. And just the whole Fishman suite, I think, you know, you get the new Arlong as well. So, I don't think he's bad. Nami! Boo! Tomato! I think Nami's tier 1. I think this card's just gross. I know this card is gross. Adam Cisneros. Everybody else. Everybody else, decent Nami player. Adam Cisneros. Sorry if I murdered your name, buddy. Dragon. I'll give Dragon tier 3. He's just not what we thought he would be. Ice Pops. Bold and brash. You know what's crazy? Vegapunk's good. Vegapunk's cracked, but this guy is kind of like the same thing, and he's not good. They also just haven't made any new bodies for him, but like, same concept, but you have 5 life. Just make him a... You know what? That's how powerful yellow is. This Lucci, just play the other Lucci. Lin. You know, maybe. Tier 3. Katakuri. I'll go tier 2. I think Katakuri, you know, just spamming 10 drops. You have a 3 life leader. You can just put him down to 0. And you have a 12k swinger. So you have a minimum 13, 15 that you can do. And that they have to be able to counter out of or potentially block. So I think Katakuri is like right here. Maybe right there. Heavily underrated. Vivi, I'll give tier 3. Sorry, Cross. Yeah, this Vivi. He tried very hard to make Vivi work, and I think there's a lot here. You know what? I'll put Vivi and might surprise you. Why? Because you could very well lose to Vivi and not realize it. You go, you know, you give your Rayleigh Rush, you draw a card. Essentially, every body you play can replace itself in Vivi, except for like a 10-drop. Green-purple, I'll give him a tier 2. Somebody tried to play it at Worlds. You got to respect it. Every Gurple card is a Gurple card. Combination isn't bad. 2 free Dawn is pretty good. Isho, I hate to say it. It's so hard because there's so many leaders. We kind of have to talk like a bit faster and kind of just briefly touch on leaders. Because once upon a time, you could take your time and talk about all of them. But now we have so many. But yeah, restanding 2 is pretty good. You know, you have same cards that this guy has. Not the same, you know, you're not going to be a 6k leader, but you get 2 free Dawn every turn. Can't Giant, though. Rebecca, I'll put Rebecca at tier 2. Cross-topped with her several times. Leader's good. And Kyros is a heck of a drug. I'll put Queen here. Don't tell me when I said that, though. I don't like Queen, but Queen continually gets support and just eats really good. And heals. Like, you feel like you're winning until you just feel like you're losing. And the new Anel's kind of crazy, too, low-key. Croc. Lakers, Croc. I'll give it tier 3. It did just get new support. It's still just not enough. I'll put Sabo at tier 2. We're not playing removal format anymore, so maybe he's tier 3. I think Sabo's really good in a like heavy removal format because you just get to save your stuff. Bello Betty's tier 1. Oh, maybe Nami's a little bit worse with Bello Betty. Bello Betty's just gonna break Nami's face. I still think Nami's incredibly good though against like anything else. Nami is just so efficient at this point, and that new girl promo is just crazy. Rosinante, maybe Fishman Rosinante. I'll give it tier 2. Fishman Rosinante, I'll give it tier 2. Sakazuki might surprise you. I'll put this right here. Because he might surprise you because he's banned. I'd be surprised too. And then we got Luffy. I think Luffy's tier 1. Luffy, of course, gets the new Katakuri and essentially builds himself to beat Blue Purple. And then, yeah, I mean, it's really hard for Gurple just to beat down a wall of Katakuri. Enel. I'll put 1.5 / off meta. Enel always finds a way. I know in America we love our Enel. I think I've seen a baby bit of Enel in terms of representation in Asia. Uta just got a huge buff with the new deck, so I'll put Uta at tier 2 because Uta just got a whole structure deck. The Starter Deck 23. Hody Jones. Bold and brash. The weakest part about this leader is the leader. All the other cards are so good. Weakest part about this is the leader. Perona. I'll give Perona tier 3. Not as good without Gecko, in my opinion. Yamato. I'm going to put Yamato at 1.5. I really think Yamato's tier 1, low key, because like this is a 6-life leader. You just swing banish at this bad boy. Whoo, baby! Double attack banish. It's ogre. So I really like Yamato. All the new cards are pretty good. It is one of the better structure decks. This and Buggy probably got the most playable support cards from the set. Reiju gets a bunch of support, and here we got the new rares, but I don't think it's there impactful, so we're gonna go tier 2. Gecko Moria. I'm gonna put Gecko. It might surprise you just because Gecko is like similar to Lucci, and I think they both have their merits, and I think there's a world Gecko could be not bad. It's very hard to remove 2 bodies without Ice Age, but Perona is a very good card. Bonnie, I'm going to put Bonnie at tier 1.5 / off meta. I don't think Bonnie's completely terrible. I think this, of course, goes incredibly fast, and Bonnie just can't keep up. But Bonnie has a really good green-purple matchup, so I think that, green-purple kind of fades out. I think Bonnie just steps down just a little bit. Sorry, Josh. I'm going to put Boa at tier 2. I'm not entirely sure. Boa just hasn't gotten any new support. There isn't any reason to think that she's better. But Boa has shown up in a number of formats. Same thing, Foxy. I wish there was more Foxy content in One Piece so you could have more in the Foxy area, because I really like Foxy. Foxy's one of the leaders I'm sad. I got some of the cards and I just never played it. Again, time-wise, I wish I had more time available or was willing to commit more time for more fun One Piece things, because I would like to play Foxy. Lucci. I'm going to put Lucci up here at tier 1. Lucci has continually found his way with the Ted Kuzan build to really just shine. Sorry, Vega. Vega taking the back seat, becoming a lot worse this format. I think blue-purple is just obtuse rubber use, and so he just can't compete. Still decent in all the other matchups, though. I think green-purple's winnable. Bello Betty, you get your Pop Luffy and your Pop Nami, so you can really control the board. So I don't think that that's a bad matchup. And then Luffy, I think Luffy's just going to send you to Gapplebees, so... Choppa, Boku wa Doctor. Never throwing him away, so we'll give him tier 3. Marco, I'm going to put at tier 1.5 / arguably might surprise you. But I think he's actually just bar for bar really good. Green matchups are typically pretty free for him. Green-purple Luffy, you can completely control their board. Blue-purple or purple Luffy is an incredibly bad matchup historically. I'm not sure how it is now. So, if you just avoid purple Luffy, but then you also get to go, band for band, your Sanji against theirs, but you get to go Sanji, leader, Rayleigh, KO one of their bodies established to yourself. And then you have 2 big threats staring them down. So I think there is some merit there. Karato, I'll give Carrot tier 2. Carrot has continually gotten new cards. I don't believe there's any new cards top of mind this set, but things like Electric Luna, maybe Lord of the Coast, some of the rares can be impactful here, but I don't think it's anything worth writing home about. King, If King had his own Great Eruption, I think this leader would be good. I'll go tier 2 on Pudding. Pudding is very good overall. Big fan. Ramping the Linlin is just pretty good. I think it's just not as good as Katakuri, like, you know, but like you have the purple, so you get to play this a turn early, so it's kind of like being a 5-life leader. Calgara. I'll put Calgara here too. I think you could potentially win because you have that aggro aspect against purple Luffy, against blue purple. Maybe we go might surprise you because Calgara actually is showing up with the new cards in OP12 because you have more targets, which is big, and you have bigger targets and more cards with counter and better stats. Shanks, I'm going to put Shanks 1.5. Shanks loses a bit of favorability, I think, but we, of course, get these new structure decks that are meant to boost Uta. And so that Uta structure deck does lend us one card. I played the other card. I don't think two of those cards even like are Shanks cards. I don't identify them as Shanks cards. Benjamin Beckelman is okay. The Uta was not good, in my opinion. I see where you would play it, but I just didn't find it super relevant. And then we've got green, purple, Lim. I think Lim kind of falls out a bit here as well. Able to play these bigger bodies and just fresh off a win. But I think blue, purple, Luffy just kind of gatekeeps us here. Just because it's ramping and playing bigger bodies than we could ever dream of. And then you, of course, have Linlin, and you can tuck any body into the life. Buggy! I think Buggy's tier 1. I think Buggy's maybe top tier 1.5, tier 1. Buggy actually plays incredibly crazy. The value plays, being able to play the 10-drop bot deck anything, that momentum there, it's kind of like your own Red Rock. It's a Red Rock for 5, but you have to pay 2 cards. On the worst case scenario, Blackbeard uses their ability. You're just big up, free 5/12. Woo, buddy. They better be ready to cry. Because, yeah, it's like, okay, I could turn it off and you get to go wide, or that you just play a 10-drop. Cool. You win either way. I think blue-purple or purple-black Luffy is tier 1. This leader gets to be a 7K leader forever, essentially. You essentially now have a 4-drop 7K leader, thanks to the new Luffy card. And you get 1 extra Dawn every single time you do it. So you get 1 active Dawn for free while becoming a 7K leader. And I don't know if you've ever tried to fight a 7K leader that has access to Gum Gum Giant that gets a Dawn for free. So they can pay full 10, swing with the 7, use the ability, get 1 Dawn back, and then with that Dawn, Gum Gum Giant you. And so they got to play full 10. So in theory, they could play a 10-Zon, swing 7 with the Luffy, -2, get that active Dawn, go 7, then at your life, and then Gum Gum Giant. Pretty tough. They stay, like, it is honestly arguably the new Shanks. It felt like I was fighting Shanks. They're just so resilient in late game. So resilient. I even played it with Shanks, and I was making my leader 7, and I felt like, and I was losing. I didn't play any answer to it, though, in that build, so that was on me. Nico Robin, tier 2. Sorry, my queen. Teach. Stanky. What is he? 1.5 or 1? 1.5 or 1? I think it's so close to 1. Because the new cards are pretty good. I cooked it with the Shanks build, but I just got cooked by black-purple, right? Teach has a pretty decent blue-purple matchup. Depending on the Shanks build, has a phenomenal or terrible Shanks matchup. And then black-purple, you get to turn off their on-plays, but he does have the win attacking, which kind of goes to distance. And you have Lucci. And so, like, a lot of decent matchups. So it's really tough to say. I would go 1.5 just because of the lack of favoritism. But if I'm being honest, I think he has huge potential for 1. I think he's like 1.25 just because he gets the new Kuzan, and the new Kuzan's nuts because then they have 3 Burgess and Trash. And you're like, cool, you're just going to get them all back. And he's like, yep, I'm just going to take them back. Thank you. And you're like, have a great day. Thank you for shopping. So it's really tough, but I think he's really good overall. I think, you know, he does get boosted. He gets the new blocker as well, so he no longer plays Shiryu, and they get to play a new blocker. I'm going to put him at tier 1, because I think this, and this were the 3 highest in terms of total wins. If I'm not mistaken, in OP11. I think he's there. Smokey, I think Smokey's tier 2, 1.5 maybe. Like right here on the line, I think Uncle Smokey is pretty good, though. Caesar Clown, Bold and Brash. I picked this up for $9. The alt. All right, and we got Sugar. Sugar might surprise you. Sugar is really good. And people have seen results on like a local level. I don't know if there's anything like super noteworthy in terms of regionals. Maybe like X3 top 64 somewhere. But people have seen decent results with Sugar. And I mean, it's just kind of like red-purple Luffy, in the fact that you just ramp to Shanks and then just can't die. Green-yellow Law, I think, is 1.5. Arguably 1 with the new deck. Incredibly complicated, even more so than Red-green Law. I really want to try this leader out. I had bought a Trafalgar to use for that. The 7-9, they have gone up in price. Usopp, I'll give Usopp a tier 2. I think Usopp's going to make his way out. Same with P-Kid. I think P-Kid's making his way out. Uta's bold and brash. This Luffy's bold and brash. I think this Luffy's actually kind of good. I'll put Luffy at tier 2. Sokka, bold and brash. This law might surprise you. Because I couldn't believe anybody's playing it. I'll put Sanji at tier 2. The rush aspect, I think, is a lot of value. You can play big beater vanillas, and like I said, the vanilla stat line is incredibly underrated. We got Red Luffy. I'm going to put Luffy at tier 3. I don't think he's bad, but I don't think he's good. Same thing here with like Eustace. I think just other leaders have better abilities at this point. Same thing here. Kaido, I'll put Kaido tier 2. YOLO. But I think, like, you know, if you see Onigashima, it's so good. It's so good. Like, there was one leader we were talking about. Like, if you see Onigashima in this one, I think you win a majority of your games. If you open it and you go first and you see it on 3. I don't remember who I was talking to, but we talked about one deck, and I was like, I think they deserve an Onigashima. And it was a purple deck. And it was like, I think this would change the dynamic of it. I can't remember which deck it was, though. Shanks. Whew, bold and brash. They've yet to print any support for this afterwards, by the way. Sakazuki, bold and brash. Bold and brash. Bold and brash. Yamato, tier 3. As also, I feel like this Yamato just got incredibly neglected. This one's going to surprise me, too. You pull up with this law, it's going to surprise me. I think Red-Purple Luffy is tier 1.5. I think this leader is very good. It just got second place. The ramp, you also get the new Luffy that Gerpa Luffy uses. And it creates new paths for lethal. Because one, you can, of course, like minus, but then you also get that extra Dawn. You only get one, but you get built-in extra Dawn for a potential extra swing. And you have just all the... You have the best rusher in the game in this deck. And then Hodie's the overall bar for bar best rusher, but like Rush Luffy is the strongest in this deck. And you just get all these other cards for aggro, like the 10 Shanks and whatnot too. And you get to combine that with the restand Luffy. And Red, I'm like, I wish Red had a restand card, which this is kind of like playing that. So I think it's 1.5. Kid though, tier 3. Actually tier 2. I think Kid shows up once. There was a new card this set maybe. I think it was this set, but there was a new like Kid Killer card, either this set or the set prior. Uta, I think Uta's tier 2. Drawing a card every turn is pretty good. Zoro Sanji, I'm going to put it might surprise you, genuinely. I think, you know, you get the VV, and you get, it's sad we don't get the restand Odin either, but, like, being able to re-add back cards, I think his leader is incredibly good. Sabo tier 2, BY Ace, I don't super agree. I think all of these are, like, at this point, they're all, like, tier 2. I don't think these are phenomenal leaders. But they're, like, not bad. And you could definitely lose to somebody playing these. And you could definitely win games playing these. This Luffy, I'm going to put at 1.5. Sanji's a heck of a card. Same thing, like, here, right? Is the 5-cost Sanji. It is just, outside of Tashigi, like, Tashigi requires 6 Don, but it's a 5 for a 5 removal. No, you have to have a 6. But it's still, like, if you have a 6, it's 5 for 5 removal. If you don't have a 6, it is, you need 6 Dawn. But, same concept, really good cards. This Luffy, I'll put him at tier 2. This is the Gear 5 EX. I wish I had time to cook with him too, because I don't think he's bad. I think he just sets you up and makes you want to play suboptimal plays. I think he has so much potential, but I think he sets you up to want to do suboptimal things. Same thing here with the Pink Mamba. Kobe. I think he has a lot of potential. I think this leader has a lot of potential. We don't have the promo, and I would argue he'd be like, might surprise you, but I think if people put in the time and the work, you know, we could see a Kobe in top 32. Jinbei. Jinbei's not bad either, truthfully. I'm put Jinbei here too. I got a lot here because I think these are all like decent, and they could potentially find their way to top 32. Weepy Toshi, I have to give Weepy Toshi tier 2 because I played OP11 format with Fidelio, if you're familiar, in Japan, and I actually lost, so I have to put respect on the name. I'll put Nami right here, top of 1.5. I think Nami and Katakuri are both top like 1.5. I think both of these belong here. Nami, of course, could have won one of the CSs. And then Katakuri, I feel like just underappreciated overall. And that Nami is a 7K leader is really strong. And this one is a 4-life 7K leader in essence when you want to be. Just one card, 7K leader. And makes lethal a lot harder, and you get to draw extra cards, which is incredibly powerful. And then Katakuri, you get access. This deck, I feel if you go first and you see putting on 3, this deck is insane. If you don't do that, this deck feels absolutely terrible. I've done some testing. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and not miss some Katakuri content, because I am working on that. Working on a bunch of these new decks. I do want to just be able to provide the most amount of value. I just don't want to provide a deck list. You know, I like to provide value that you can take and execute and play on, and hopefully win a couple games at your locals. But yeah, that is the video, everyone. If you do me a favor, again, just hit that subscribe button. It helps me out a lot. And let me know, what deck are you playing in OP11 in the comments below.